What is up, guys? My name is GBall97, and in this video I'll be showing you how to start designing your apps with Xcode 8 and Swift 3. Now, in my previous video, if you haven't seen that already, it goes over the basics of Xcode, so if you're a beginner, it'll be a great video to watch. If you're interested, just check out the link in the description box below. But for this video, I'm going to be using text fields, buttons, labels, and pretty much showing you how to lay them out and how to get them to show correctly on all the devices. Alright, so let me just move my camera over here, and let's go ahead and open up Xcode. Now when you have Xcode open, you want to click Create a New Xcode Project. And then you want to do Single View Application, and choose your product name. For this video, let's just go ahead and do Design. And go ahead and make sure that language is on Swift. Make sure your team is set correctly. Pretty much just make sure all of these look good to you, and just make sure the language is Swift, and the device, I'm just going to leave it on universal. Alright, so next step, just choose the location you want this project to save to, and let Xcode create your files. We'll give this a few seconds. It's going to index and process, and it should say ready in a few seconds. Okay, so now we're ready, right? So just like in the last video that I just created, we have an app delegate and a view controller. All right, so I'm gonna go through this really quickly, guys. I don't want to make this video too long, but here is our main storyboard. Okay, so this is where we create our design for our app, and you initially start with one view controller. All right, so this is the one we start with. I'm gonna move my camera back down over here. Okay, so now that we have our view ready, what we could do from here, as you can see right here, view controller scene, this whole slot right here is for this whole view controller. So anything that you put in here, it will be laid out inside of here. So here's our view. If you want to change the color or anything, make sure that you click Attributes Inspector, and that will give you all the options to either change the background, tint colors, and all that. All right. So let's go ahead and put a background of. I'm going to go ahead and do a nice blue, and we're going to go ahead and just drag in a label. So these are actually all the objects that you can use on your apps. Alright, so if I just scroll down, you're going to see a lot of options, but since we're going to use a label, I'm going to type in label. I have a mouse, so all you have to do is actually left click and hold, drag it right on, and now that we put it in here, I'm going to go ahead and actually zoom at the bottom to 100%. And here we have our label. Okay, so now the next step, if you go to the Attributes Inspector again, you can actually change the value of the text straight from here. You can change the color. We're going to go ahead and do white. And you can change the alignment, and you can do so much all from here. Alright, so for this label, we're just going to go ahead and say hello world. Whoa. Caps lock got stuck. So we'll do hello world, and you'll notice that the whole label is cut off. The whole thing's not showing, and the reason of that is when you first drag that label into your view, it fixes to that size, right? So there's two things you could do. You can either, if you'll notice, if you go to the corners, there's like this little spacer, and if you click and hold that, you can drag out, and now you just made that label bigger. The second option is if you actually go into the size inspector, you can change the width and height straight from here. Or a third option that I want to tell you guys, this is what I do, is I hit editor and do size fit content. So then the whole word automatically gets fit into the label. Okay? So the next thing we want to do is add in a button. Now that we have a button in here, we can go ahead and do even the same as the label. We can change the text, so we can just say button. We can change the background color by scrolling down into background. We can go ahead and just change this to, let's say, a green. And tint, I'm pretty sure this is the text color, which it is. So tint is the text color. Now again, we're going to go ahead and just make this bigger and lay this right on here. And third is a text field. So let's go ahead and search text field right here. Oop, not text view, but text field. And let's go ahead and make that bigger. And we'll leave the text field just like that. Okay, now that we have our design in our view, how do we communicate this view controller with our objects? Well, you actually have to link them to the view controller.swift file. So as I said in my last video, I said that every view has a file, a Swift file. And what that means is that when you want to use these buttons, you pretty much drag them into this file, and that way you can change the text from them, you can pretty much design them, all of that, alright? And I'll show you how to do that right now. So if we go to View Controller, you'll see that if we go right here to Identity Inspector, you'll see that that class says View Controller, and that's because View Controller is this file right here. So notice that every time you open up a new View Controller, you're going to have to link the file straight from here before you can start dragging these buttons into that file. And I'll show you what I mean right now. So to link these your design to your file, go ahead and hit Assistant Editor. And here we go. Now we have a side-by-side of our code, which is this file right here. You can see at the top right here, it says Automatic View Controller. And we have our design on the left side. So now we're going to go ahead and just left-click Hello World, the label. Now you want to right-click and hold it down and start dragging. You'll notice a blue line appear. Go ahead and put this into your code, and you'll see that there's going to be a blue line in your code. It says Insert Outlet or Outlet Collection. So for the label, we're going to leave this as outlet, and for the name, we're just going to say welcome label. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and do the same for our button and text field. So for button, we're going to go ahead and do button 1. Oh, actually, I meant to put a 1, not an exclamation. And text field, we're going to go ahead and do the same. Probably better if I do it this way. And I'm just going to name this text field. Okay. Now here is one thing that you should keep in mind. There's two ways that you can create these. Usually there are. I'll do this so I can explain it better. So as you can see, when I drag in a label or any of these objects, it's going to say the connection is outlet. But for a button, if you want to actually make that clickable, you have to go to connection and you want to do an action. So when you click it, now it's going to perform an action. Now give it another name. And the name, you want to just copy the same name as you used before. We're going to do button 1. We're going to go ahead and click connect. Now as you can see, you'll notice that instead of creating an IB outlet, right here, it's creating an IB action. There's a function inside of that. So here's the function. And what's going to happen is when that button gets clicked, this function is going to fire. So we're going to go ahead and just hit print. And we're going to do button clicked. Alright, so now we can go ahead and close this. Go ahead and click what is this called right here? The standard editor. Alright, so you want to click that one. And now that we got all of these down, we put them into our file here, we linked it to our view controller, we can now access them and use them in our code. So let's actually work with these now. So if I ran this, I'm going to go ahead and just hit iPhone 5 so I can show you guys a little bit better. It'll fit onto the whole screen. And while this is building and running, I'm going to go ahead and do some other code. So instead of printing button clicked, we're also going to do something a bit different. And what we could do, over here. What we could do is we can actually change the text of that label and even fill the text field with text. Alright, so, well, how do we do that? Well, what we could do is welcome label. Because now that it's at the top, we just added it into our file. It's going to be a little, it's because it's running, so it's not going to show up. But, you want to do welcome label dot text equals, And now you can set this text to anything you want now. And we're just going to go ahead and say button is clicked. And also, we're going to go ahead and set the text field text to the same thing as that label. So we're going to do text field dot text equals, and we'll just go ahead and copy this and paste that in right here. And I got a typo here. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop this, and now let's actually run this. And my Mac is on 18%, and I think I'll have enough time to finish this video, hopefully. Alright, so once this runs, we can see that this is actually working now, hopefully. Alright, so it's running. And there we go. We got our design. Now you'll notice that there's something called constraints, and the way constraints work is when you put your design, like say a label or something, it's not going to look the same on all devices unless you use constraints. As you can see, we put everything in the middle in our design, but they're actually coming off to the side, and that's because constraints is what sets the position of that object. Now I'll get more into that video. I'll get more into that in my next video actually. I'll name it constraints, and I'll show you how to position everything correctly to show on any device. So pretty much I'm going to show you how every device can look the same using constraints. Alright, so anyway, let's test this and see if this works. As you can see, our label says hello world. If we click a button, there we go. It's going to say button clicked. Button is clicked is our text field, and button is clicked is the label. Now you'll notice that it doesn't fit, and that's because we gave it a fixed width. But if you want to fix that, you can actually just drag it all the way across. And it's because we did size to content. What was it? Size to fit content. Okay. And now actually, I'm just going to go ahead and just make this centered in alignment so it looks better. Let's just run this one more time just to show you that it actually works. And that will be it. Well, gotta just close this and hurry this up a bit. Alright. So, once this runs and this opens, you'll notice that if we click this button one more time, there we go. Button is clicked and button is clicked. Okay? So, let me minimize that, and that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you guys can take information on this. If you have any trouble, just please leave a comment down below. Also, if you liked it, just leave a like, subscribe for future tutorials, and I'll see you guys in the next video.